Hope I have seen your name correct and pronouncing it as well. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Thank you so much for joining the conference call today, and grateful for joining this call and giving your valuable association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Aditi Devi Dasi in Canada.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Aditi Mataji. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Thank you so much for joining the call and giving your valuable association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone who would like to join and introduce? Please go ahead with your introduction. I request you, all of you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas and all the devotees present here. This is Ekaradita Leela Devidasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Ekaradika Leela Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Thank you so much for joining the call and giving your valuable association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Morning, Indra.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Yashamati Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call this morning, and thank you so much for joining the call and giving your valuable association. Anyone like to introduce themselves? Please go ahead.
Jyoti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. All glories, Dandavat Pranam to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Thank you so much for joining the call and giving your valuable association this morning. Welcome you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj is my humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Ram.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Krishna Kumari Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Thank you so much for joining the call and giving your valuable association this morning. I welcome you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Shiromani Nandarani Devdasi from Qatar. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Shiromani Anandakumari Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Please accept my respectful obeisances and we all welcome you on the call. Hare Krishna. Please introduce yourself. Let us move to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are fortunate to have His Grace Dr. Keshavanand Prabhuji, and His Grace will enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 6, chapter 5, verse number 9 to 11.
Aditi Mataji will give introduction.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishaya Bhute
Yeah.
Srimati Bhakti Vedanta
Introducing.
Swami Iti Namane Namaste.
Mataji,
I hand over call to the respectful Aditi Mataji, and I request her to give the brief introduction about His Grace. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is a brief introduction for His Grace Keshavanand Prabhuji. As we all know, he is the most favorite Prabhuji. Keshavanand Prabhuji was a professional doctor prior to becoming a full-time practicing monk. For the past 20 years, he has conducted extensive research and authored books in the field of science and spirituality. He feels the rift between science and spirituality must disappear to bring peace in the world. Keshavanand Prabhuji has studied both Vedic and Western philosophy. Besides learning Sanskrit, he also learned Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, and Kannada to know about other traditions. His persistent endeavor in the field of science and spirituality has enabled him to come up with seminars on diverse topics like science and the Vedas, mind and machines. Science fails to explain life, consciousness, and beyond, etc., that he has presented in various colleges in India, Europe, and America. Under the guidance of his spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami, he has also started a Gurukula, a traditional system of Vedic education in Punjab, India, where children learn the ancient Vedic culture and values. He has also started a farm community that follows a traditional way of living with mud huts and thatched roofs and cows, and of course, farming. The community will set a model for the world to show how to live a life based on the principle of simple living, high thinking. Over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Eternally grateful to you for giving us your valuable time and association association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam today. Now I would like to hand over the call to His Grace and request him to continue the session. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Can anybody read the verse?
Indulika Karuna Mataji, I request you to go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 5, Text 9 through 11. Katam swapitur adesham avidvamsho vipaschita anurupam avijnaya aho sargam karishyata. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Alas, your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create progeny? Text 10. Shri Shuka Vacha Tanishamyata Haryasva Autpatika Manishya Vachakutam tu Devarshe Swayam Vimam Rishur Dhiya. Translation. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, hearing these enigmatic words of Narada Muni, the Haryasvas considered them with their natural intelligence without help from others. Text 11. Bhushetram jiva samyam yad anadi nija bandhanam adrishtva tasya nirvanam kim asat karma bhir bhaved. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Haryasvas now understood the meaning of Narada's words as follows. The word bhu, the earth, refers to the field of activities. The material body, which is a result of the living being's action, is his field of activity, and it gives him false designations. Since time immemorial, Since time immemorial, he has received various types of material bodies, which are the roots of bondage to the material world. If one foolishly engages in temporary creative activities and does not look towards the cessation of this bondage, what will be the benefit of his actions? Purport: Narada Muni spoke to the Haryasvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, about 10 allegorical subjects: the king, the kingdom, the river, the house, the physical elements, and so forth. After considering these by themselves, the Haryasvas could understand that the living entity encaged in his body seeks happiness but takes no interest in how to become free from his engagement. This is a very important verse, since all the living entities in the material world are very active, having obtained their particular types of bodies. A man works all day and night for sense gratification, and animals like hogs and dogs also work for sense gratification all day and night. Birds, beasts, and all other conditioned living entities engage in various activities without knowledge of the soul encaged within the body. Especially in the human form of body, one's duty is to act in such a way that he can release himself from this encagement. But without the instructions of Narada or his representative in the disciplic succession, people blindly engage in bodily activities to enjoy Maya Sukha, flickering temporary happiness. They do not know how to become free from their material engagement. Rishabhadev therefore said that such activity is not at all good, since it engages the soul again and again in a body subjected to the threefold miseries of the material condition. The Haryasvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, could immediately understand the purport of Narada's instructions. Our Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for such enlightenment. We are trying to enlighten humanity so that people may come to the understanding that they should work hard in tapasya for self-realization and freedom from the continuous bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease in one body after another. Maya, however, is very strong. She is expert in putting impediments in the ways of this understanding. Therefore, sometimes one comes to Krishna consciousness movement, but again falls into the clutches of Maya, not understanding the importance of this movement. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Should I start? My voice is clear to all of you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Om Namo Namam Om Jnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Prachara Nirvisheshinyavadi Paschadishta. Okay, so these are the words of Devarshi Narad. And by the way, Sri Sukadeva Goswami really pins it down in the text, and he says, Vachaha Kutam tu Devarshi. Kutam means, Prabhupada translates it as enigmatic, but Kutam also means diplomatic. So Narad Muni's words were really diplomatic, because Narad Muni, he said in the 9th verse that, okay, the Daksh Prajapati, he asked his sons to create progeny. But Narad Muni is like, Narad Muni comes to them and he doesn't tell, don't follow your father. Doesn't tell explicitly, clearly, don't follow your father, don't marry, become brahmachari. Narad Muni's whole project is to make people brahmachari. That's what he is. Narad Muni doesn't believe in Grihastha, by the way. But he's like that. He's himself brahmachari, so he knows that household life is bondage. So he didn't want these sons to be entangled in household life and he wanted to persuade them to become brahmachari, but he couldn't directly tell them ki, don't follow the orders of your father. He couldn't, because at that time, when this is happening, people were very religious and very obedient, so that program would have failed if Narad Muni would have told them, don't follow your father. So he sarcastically, he actually spoke in a very diplomatic way. He's saying, actually he spoke in a very cunning way. He said, well, your father told you to create progeny, but he's omniscient, so you don't really understand the purpose of what your father is saying. But I know, because I'm experienced. He's asking you to create progeny, but actually he doesn't want you to be entangled in this household life. But probably he's telling you because he saw that you are also a little bit inclined, and whatever. He just used kutam, vacha kutam. He used diplomacy. So the first point is, in preaching you can use diplomacy. That's very important. It's not necessary to be really to the point and speak to the point. You can speak indirectly also. Of course, we are not here to change the message, but the idea is we can speak we can speak indirectly. We can, just like Narad Muni is saying, he gives an example, he gives an analogy, and then these sons, they could interpret themselves. Okay, what's the meaning of this? He didn't speak directly. So many times in preaching we do that. We tell people indirectly, and we don't tell people straightforward things, although we should talk straightforward. Srila Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, simplicity means talking straightforward, even if it is unpalatable. But at the same time, sometimes Prabhupada also spoke stories to get his message across. Prabhupada told his disciples, hippies, chant and be happy. Chanting has, Prabhupada said, you take LSD and marijuana, it's more bliss than LSD and marijuana in chanting. So of course you can't compare bliss of chanting with mundane bliss of LSD and marijuana, but they could relate to Prabhupada like that. So Prabhupada spoke in that way. So preaching requires expertness. That's the idea. Prabhupada said you should all be expert. Prabhupada said, okay, if you're a scientist, just like I preach to scientists, and if you go to universities, then you can't tell to them directly, Krishna is God. You can't directly go and tell them. If you're doing scientific preaching, you have to talk to them in scientific terms and bring them to consciousness and then to subject of God. So Prabhupada said you have to be intelligent to speak in universities. So like that. So we have to see how to get the message across. But at the same time, we should be careful that the message should not get deviated. We should not speak some deviated philosophy. That's very important, because if we do that, then the whole purpose of preaching is spoiled. If your message is changed, everything is destroyed. So just Prabhupada says, old wine in new bottle. That's the idea. Prabhupada says, old wine in new bottle. So you speak the message, but the presentation might be different. That's the idea. Message is same, but the presentation is different. And Prabhupada said, to do this, Prabhupada, in second canto, in one of the purport, Prabhupada says, to do this, you need realizations. Otherwise, we'll not be able to do it. We need to understand the subject matter nicely, realize it, and then we can present it appropriately according to the audience. But the message is the same, without changing the message. So you need good amount of realizations to speak like that. And understanding of the subject matter. So that's called preaching. So preaching is not just making some points and before the lecture you are searching like frantically what is the topic, where are the points, and people do like that. That's not bad, but the point is it will not have any effect. And then you speak something, but doesn't change people or doesn't help them to elevate in their Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada said in Bhagavatam, first canto, Prabhupada said, realization means presentation. Prabhupada said this. Prabhupada is saying realization means presentation. So that's the idea there. Narad Muni is presenting the subject so nicely to these sons. See, these sons, they have not led their life. They are young. Narad Muni is already saying, you're not mature enough. You're not so experienced in this world, and especially what's household life, what's the problem of life. They have no idea. They're like youths, young people. So Narad Muni, that's why he comes and he presents in a way so that they can understand and follow things. And in fact, they are intelligent. That's why Narad Muni spoke in analogy, but they could decode it in 11th verse. They could understand, oh, actually he's talking about bondage, material world, household life, body. They could clearly interpret and understand these things. And then they could understand why should we get entangled in household life. That's not good. And they left. They became brahmacharis. So that's the first point to take away from this whole discussion, that realization means presentation. We speak the same points, but we present in different ways according to the situation. That's called expertness. That's called realization. And that changes people. Prabhupada's own guru, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he was so, his style of speaking was not so lucid. It was very difficult to understand. And of course, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he attracted many scholars, because scholars like to hear difficult presentations. They feel proud that we can understand difficult things. But Prabhupada made it so simple. As Bhaktivedanta made it so difficult, Prabhupada made it so simple. That's what Prabhupada did. So the idea was, that this Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Prabhupada made it very simple. Prabhupada did it such a simple way to presentation. And that's why it attracted many Westerners. And he became successful within hippies. Hippies were like the most dull people on this planet because of all this sex and LSD and all these things. But they could understand what Prabhupada is saying. That's also very surprising. Prabhupada prayed to Krishna, let my words be understood by them, by these hippies. Prabhupada prayed that. And because of his prayers, Krishna inspired him to speak in such a simple language that anybody could understand. And they could not only understand, but their lives changed and they became full-time on the spot. Many devotees, they read Prabhupada's book, they closed the book, went to temple, shaved, and became full-time. That's how it happened at Prabhupada's time. They didn't really give a thought what we read. No, they read, it went into their heart, changed them, and that's it, finished. And why? Because of Prabhupada's simplicity. Prabhupada's godbrother, they failed in Europe. They went twice, one in London and then in Germany, but they couldn't preach. They failed utterly because they first of all, their language was very scholastic and abstruse language, like Bhaktisiddhanta, difficult words, and so people couldn't really understand. People understood, but it didn't really but it didn't really pass through their consciousness and touch their soul. But Prabhupada's words were so simple that they didn't have to think. It just sank into their soul and changed them. So that was Prabhupada's presentation. So we should remember this first point. Don't change the message. You can change the presentation. That you can do. Okay, next point is very important here, that another point to take away from this whole discussion, these 3 verses, is that these sons of Harshavas, they were very intelligent and they could really decode the analogy by themselves. They could understand. And probably this was because of association of Narad Muni and his blessings. And of course, they were themselves already pure enough to understand what Narad Muni is trying to say. So if a disciple is intelligent, that's what Shukdev Goswami says, if guru and disciple both have to be intelligent to come to right conclusions. If guru is intelligent but disciple is not intelligent, then there's a problem. When a disciple is intelligent, guru is not intelligent, then everything is finished. Nothing works. So of course, guru has to be intelligent. But if disciple is not intelligent, then there's a problem there. Then devotion doesn't arise. Prabhupada had many disciples fell away. Sri Prabhupada mentions in the purport here also, in the last, Maya is so strong that people come to Krishna consciousness, but then they fall away due to strong effects of Maya. Prabhupada is mentioning here. So intelligence, these students were intelligent, and that's why they could understand that they are not defying the orders of their father, but actually they could also understand to defy the orders of father or mother, parents, for higher purpose is okay. It's fine enough. It's not a sin. Otherwise, not to follow the orders of parents, it's a sin. It's a sin to give disrespect to superiors. Krishna says it's a sin by not following the orders. But they could understand there's a higher purpose, and for that these orders can be defied, and they did that. Simple. You could understand it. The Narad didn't have to explain them. Okay, I mean to say they could have argued. Okay, we understand that getting out of the bondage is a main duty, spiritual duty, but still we have to follow the orders of a father. So what to do? They were not absolutely confused. They were not confused at all. They were clear after hearing, and they said, okay, fine, that's okay. It's like Narad Muni told them, they could understand once we go in family life, like our half of the life is finished. Sons and this and that and that. So they could understand the value of becoming full-time brahmacharis and spending their whole life in Krishna consciousness. And they also understood that life is short. It's not long enough. As far as spiritual realization is concerned, life is short because it takes time to get realizations. It's not one day job, and we all know that. We all know it doesn't happen one day. It doesn't happen even in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. It takes time. It takes time for the message to sink in our heart and then understand. You see, after 10, 20 years, after 10, 20 years, we will realize that holy name is a way to attain Krishna. Before that, we are saying, we are talking, but we don't realize it. After 20 years, we realize, oh, okay, Krishna is God. And these are basic things, but we hear, but to realize it, that's a very different kind of story. Because why? Because if we realize the holy name is the only way to attain God, our mind will get completely fixed on chanting of holy names. But because most of us, our mind is like running here and there, that means we don't realize that holy name is the only way. Tadra Adarad Anudinam Rupa Goswami's nectar of instruction. Chant the holy names Adarad with a lot of respect. Because holy name is Krishna himself. But if you do that, then your mind will not be disturbed while chanting. But our mind is disturbed, so what that means, we don't have realization. After 20, you see, after so many years, like so many years, I've been in this movement for 25 years now. After 25 years, I realized, and a question came to my mind: who is Krishna? That question came to my mind. Who is Krishna? You might think it's a silly question, but it's a question. Who is this person whom we are serving? And why is this person accepting our services? In spite of being offensive and silly. So, it's a silly question. You might say, oh, what kind of question is it? But it is a question. And you will probably after 20 years, that comes to our mind. Okay, who is Krishna? After 20 years, the question will come, what is this holy name which we are chanting? Is this words, or is it Krishna himself? That question will come. You know what? We might be hearing all along these things, but it doesn't click. Doesn't click in our minds. Or maybe after so many years, you might realize, okay, we are doing so many things which displeases Krishna. And we might think, okay, this is offensive. But after some time you realize, after many years, okay, yes, this is offensive, but more than that, it hurts Krishna. Gives him pain. So these are, you see, after realization is different. Realization is different. Saying is different. Realization is different. So it takes time to realize things. It doesn't come in one day. We might think we are understanding, but we are not. Because if we are understanding things, then if we are really understanding things, then the symptoms and effects should be there. And if you're really understanding things, then the effect is your mind will undeviatingly be fixed on the chanting of holy names. But that's not happening. That's simply not happening. So there is some kind of gap between what we are understanding and what we are realizing. There's a gap. Otherwise, effects are not coming. So we have to look into that gap and try to reduce it and take our understanding to the level of realization. And then our heart is satisfied. Then our heart becomes satisfied. Ya Atma Suprasidati. That's what Bhagavatam says. Then heart is completely satisfied. One of the, I think, so one of the Gaudiya Math saints, he said, Krishna consciousness is a religion of heart. It's a religion of heart. It is not the religion of intelligence. That's Jnanis. Krishna consciousness is a religion of heart. By heart we means it's a religion of feelings and realizations. That's what Krishna consciousness is. So Narad Muni, he's a realized person, and he's talking to these kids, and these kids are also pretty super advanced that they could decode Narad Muni's message, and they could immediately renounce their family and became full-time brahmacharis. It doesn't happen with anybody, isn't it? To become full-time devotee, you need a lot of preaching, lot of support, lot of understanding. But they did that, and And you can say, okay, are they becoming full-time sentimentally? Is it too early? No. Narad Muni never said to them become full-time. They themselves came to conclusion, oh, this is bondage. Forget it. Forget everything. Let's go. Let's go. So the third message to take away home from this is that spirituality is much beyond religion, dharma. Their dharma was to follow the orders of their father, and Daksh Prajapati said, you should follow my orders. But more superior is following the orders of saints that can surpass the orders of father, mother, or any other superior, because that will give us spiritual liberation and release us from bondage of this material world. No matter whatever. See, dharma deals with this material world. Dharma and niti deals with this material world. It helps you to expertly navigate in this material world. But the question is, we don't have to do anything with this material world. So why should we learn this? Why should I learn how to paint if my job is something else? It's waste of time. So that's why spiritual instructions are superior to mundane, dharmic, and niti instructions, because spirituality says, well, you don't have to learn anything, just leave it. That's all. Why do you want to waste your time doing this? So of course, we learn dharma and we follow its codes and conduct. But if it comes on the way of spiritual path, then we abandon it. We don't think twice, and we just leave it. That's all. So here, Prajapati Daksha's instructions are coming on the way of this spiritual journey. They are unmarried, and this is a chance for them to get out. If not now, then never. Then they are ending up getting married. So they had to choose father's instructions or spiritual master's instruction. They chose spiritual master, and they rejected the other one. So that is why Krishna says, Sarv dharman paritajya mam ekam shranam praja. Krishna says, if Krishna is not saying that abandon all religions, religious practices. Krishna is saying abandon those religious practices which are an obstacle on the path of surrender. That's why he says, Sarv dharman paritajya mam ekam shranam praja. Any religious practice which is helping you to surrender, that's good. Keep on doing. Or at least which doesn't conflict with your spiritual journey, that's okay. That's okay. So that is the point there. This is one of the this third takeaway instructions which we can take away from this discussion. Another point to take away is these sons, Hashish, they could understand that this body is bondage. To see household life as bondage, that's another thing. But to see body as bondage, that's another thing. This body itself is a bondage. This body is in Sanskrit they say sharira khalu eva sadhanam. This body is sadhan, is a means to attain liberation or even prema. But on the other hand, it's an obstacle also. So the point is, best use a bad bargain. This body is like a means to go. It's like a boat to cross an ocean, but it's not a reliable boat. That's the idea there. It gives suffering. It is temporary. So there is a problem there. So these Hershey's, they thought, well, the greatest obstacle is not even household life. The greatest obstacle is body itself. And the mind, which is within this body, that's the greatest problem. And the only way to get beyond this obstacle. You can commit suicide. This body is a problem. Okay, I'm committing suicide. That will not help you, because you'll get another body, or you might not even get a body. You become ghost, and that's another big complex problem. But at the same time, they could understand, if we have to get liberated from this body, then why to create more bodies? Household life means you're creating progeny. That's what the discussion began. Narad Muni says, well, you're trying to create progeny, you're trying to create more bodies, more living entities in their bodies, but do you know that your body itself, your own body itself, is an obstacle? And if you can't release yourself, then how can you release others? That's foolishness. So just try to get released from this body and go back home to Powerhead. Don't create more mundane, don't expand your mundane ideology and mundane concepts by marrying. Marriage itself is a mundane expansion of sense gratification. Srila Prabhupada says, isn't it extended sense gratification? So when the son, he becomes famous, the parents become proud, because the parents are not becoming famous, the son is becoming famous, but the parents are feeling proud, because parents identify their body with the body of son, and they are enjoying the name and fame through their son. So it's extended sense gratification. Similarly, wife and husband, it is extended sense gratification. We try to gratify through our family members, through our country, through our community. Srila Prabhupada gives this clear-cut understanding to us, and that is why these Harshishas, they could understand why should be. First of all, sense gratification itself is a problem, and by creating progeny, we enter into extended sense gratification. Now we have one body, but then we will have bodies of a son, bodies of a wife, and we identify with those bodies, and then whatever they enjoy, we enjoy. Whatever they feel distress, we feel distress. So then there's a problem there. So they were quite intelligent people, as we can understand. But of course, Prajapati Daksh, he became really mad at Narad. He said, what the hell, I asked them to create progeny, and now you're making them full-time, and this and that, and you are like bogus saint and this and that. Should have inspired them to become Prastas and this and that and this and that. But Narad Muni, he doesn't get budged, he doesn't get bewildered. He said, well, whatever you say, the point is to become full-time. But one thing I never this is a research topic, I meant to say, why Narad Muni has to go in this kind of situation? He could have left her, she says, okay, there's so many people in the universe. Why to mess up with the Daksh Prajapati and his sons, But Narad Muni is a different kind of person. He likes to mess up things. He likes to enter things which are complex and complicated. Because see, it is said to preach to faithful people is much easier than to preach to faithless people. So if you preach and you have all faithful people, then you've not accomplished much. Prabhupada said, if you preach and you get atheist and faithless, that is a success of preaching. So here Shishas are not faithless, but it seems his father is. Their father is Daksh Prajapati. Daksh Prajapati, to create, to do creation and increase progeny, he is actually wasting life of his sons and doesn't understand that. And later what happened? He created more sons, and Narad Muni again made them full-time. And then finally he ended up making females. He produced daughters, so Narad Muni could not do anything, and that's how progeny increased. He could have done this in the first place. He could have made daughters. And that's all, the whole problem of Narad Muni is finished. But even if Narad was not there, still he's wasting the life of so many sons, and he's acting like a mundane father who doesn't care to give spiritual knowledge to their children, and he just want to fulfill his own agenda for increasing population. Of course, it was agenda. Of course, Krishna gave him this service, increase the population, but he should have given a well thought of it without wasting anybody's life. He should have served Krishna, and that is another point there. If we want to serve Krishna, we should also keep in mind that our service should not destroy others' life and should not hamper others' devotional service. We have to remember that, because generally we don't think about it. We do service to Krishna, and then we don't think of its consequence, and then others are disturbed and this and that. Well, you say, no, I've done my service, so well, it's okay, let them be disturbed, but I'll do my service. No, that doesn't happen. It's not a good idea. You have to do service, but do it in a way so that everybody is happy, if it is possible. Do it in that way. And you might say, no, it's not possible. Then you're a fool, because every problem has 1,000 solutions. Quran says that. Every problem has 1,000 solutions. We see only one, because we don't want to see others, because we are egoistic. We think this is a solution, this doesn't work, okay, fine, forget it. We are not humble enough to perceive other solutions, other paths. So that's the point there. There's so many points here in this discussion, and I think I'll end here and I'll take up questions, because the question answer session is long there.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for enlightening us today. It was a very wonderful class, as usual. Your classes are so mesmerizing. I just wanted to highlight some of the points you mentioned. In preaching, we should be straightforward. Preaching requires expertise, and you need realization, and then present without changing it, and understanding subject of matter. And realization means presentation, and don't change the message. But what touched my heart was, you said Krishna consciousness is religion of heart. That's a very touching thing. Yeah. And I just have a quick question. Like aapne kaha ki guru and shishya both have to be intelligent, but sometimes if the shishya is murkh, then what happens? What do you do?
If shishya is murkh, then it's a duty of guru to make him intelligent.
Okay.
It's a duty. If there are students in the class and some students pass, some students fail, then it comes on the teacher. So teacher should be expert to make that student intelligent and make him pass. So that's his responsibility. Otherwise he fails. The teacher fails.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for that wonderful answer. Devotees, Prabhuji, you have time for a question?
Yeah. That's okay.
Devotees, please go ahead with your questions. Unmute yourself, and please make it short so that everybody gets the chance.
Hare Krishna, I raise my hand, Mata. Can I do it?
Yes, please go ahead, Balram Prasad Prabhu.
Keshavanand Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, the topic is very tough, and then based on this topic, Narada Muni, he is kind of an Akhanda Brahmachari, and he told this to this Tvachetas. Now you are Brahmachari, and most of them, our listeners here, are Grahasthas. And then actually we are feeling guilty. Okay.
Yeah,
so everybody is a Grahastha.
Of course,
Here you-
householders should feel guilty. Why they shouldn't? Why they shouldn't? And that is, you see why, I'll tell you why. That is why scripture says after grahas there should be vanprastha and sannyas.
Mm.
If householders don't feel guilty, then they will never go for vanprastha and sannyas, isn't it? Then they will say, okay, everything is right, we'll just spend a life in our families. Then they don't perfect their lives. We have to proceed to next ashram, and everybody, Bhagavatam is hammering again and again, Grihamandam Kupam. It's a big dark hole from where you never come back. Narad Muni says the same thing. It's a dark hole. in this analogy, you enter a dark hole, and your question is correct. I mean, many people say we are brahmacharis, so we'll speak like that. So don't listen to brahmacharis. Listen counseling from householders. But if you listen counseling from householders, then मैं तो कहूँगा राम मिलाए जोड़े कंधा है कोड़ी, वो तो वो तो वही बात हो गई. You don't elevate. You don't elevate. The whole purpose of Bhagavatam is renunciation. And it's not that it's not Bhagavatam is condemning anybody. It's not like that. Bhagavatam is trying to encourage, get out. You have done your responsibilities. That's very well, very nice. Okay, fine. Everything is done. Now, after some period of time, get out, perfect your life. Otherwise things never end. Family things never end. There is something or the other. It keeps on going. Many devotees in ISKCON, after some time, after 40, 50 years, they worked, they did saving, and they shifted to Mayapur and Vrindavan. They planned it out.
Yeah.
They planned it out. So that's the idea. Anyway, what's the question?
Yeah, the question is, the sthane sthita, that means, I forgot that verse, but whichever ashram you are, you practice the Krishna consciousness, right? And especially in the age of Kali, I don't see many sannyasis or brahmacharis. It's most of them are grahasthas. And then even though somebody become brahmachari, he will become grahastha immediately or after some time. So how do we understand? Because, if you look at the ISKCON, the population of ISKCON or the devotees of ISKCON, it's majority is grahasthas anyway. So
you know why majority of grahasthas? Because nobody is inspiring them to become brahmachari. Yeah, I mean to say, in the West, you take in the West, who is inspiring anybody to be brahmachari? I went to somewhere in Detroit, and I was there. So there was one brahmachari, and we were talking, and then he was telling Prabhuji, I'm marrying. So I told, okay. So then he told Prabhuji, everybody is telling me you are so fortunate that you are marrying and all this. You see, it's like that. It's a different kind of altogether preaching. So then why they will become brahmachari? I don't think so. It's my personal opinion. I don't want to speak about others, but it's my observation that nobody's inspiring people to become brahmacharis. They are saying, become brahmachari, there'll be problems. So be household life, be secure, future, and this and that and that. But then what do you mean by full surrender? Just surrender your life, that's all. You will die, that's all. Maximum what will happen? You will die. उससे ज़्यादा क्या होगा? मर जाओ. उससे ज़्यादा तो कुछ हो नहीं सकता ना. तो वो inspiration की बात है. There's an inspiration. So I think if you inspire, then people are ready to become brahmacharis. I've personally seen one devotee. He was about to get married, and I told him, I counseled him a little bit. Said, Prabhuji, okay, fine. Nobody told me. Nobody told me in the way you are telling. People give option. Okay, you can do that, either this, either that. You see practicality. There's nothing practical. Just leave everything, surrender, and that's all. Finish. Khatam ho gaya. And because everybody knows household life takes time. It's not, Grahastha ashram is not bad, but it sucks time. That's the whole point. That is why we don't say we are brahmacharis. We say we are full time. We give time, and time matters. Time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a grahastha, but he had time with him. He had time, so he could spend 4 hours while traveling. There was a special train for him. Britishers arranged special train only for him. He went, and he could do his duty in just 3-4 hours, and then he would come, and his family matters he didn't have to deal so much. So whole time he was like doing devotion, writing books, chanting 64 rounds. You see all those things. But in modern age, who has time? Tell me. It's practical. Nobody has time. Household life. You're running. So that's something what I feel. Nobody's inspiring. For Grastas are inspired, you plan it out, and after 50, 55, plan to leave. Shift to some dham, no problem. Stay there, away from your family. Settle your kids, go and stay and spend full time with Krishna. Otherwise, in family, then again, grandsons and this and that and that and that and that. You see, out of sight, out of mind. That's all. You have to get out of that place. Otherwise, it sucks. That's all. That's what scripture says.
Yeah, you're. I agree, Prabhu. That's the we have an understanding, but we don't have the realization. So that comes later part of our life. When the kids settle and out of the house, then that's how you realize, I think this is what we need to do, right?
Yeah.
So that realization has to come.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Keshavanand and Prabhuji, for that wonderful answer. Next is Shyam Sudhakar Prabhuji. Please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. This is Shyam Sudhakar from Charlotte. We met many times in Charlotte.
Oh, really? Okay.
Always inspiring, thought-provoking, Prabhuji. So I was just thinking about this lecture, and definitely we see that like Narada Mahamuni, like kind of preachers have converted Prachetas, right? I mean, in the material realm, but I mean, at least Brahma and Vishnu, and Brahma and Shiva kind of, all these demigods in the spiritual realm, we didn't hear any story, in spite of having association with greatest preacher like Narad Mahamuni, somebody has practiced brahmacharya or converted from Grihastha. So all this, in this material realm, what we worship, the demigods, they're all Grihastha gods, right? Like they are expanded.
Demigods are Grihasthas for a purpose. Shiva is a great Vaishnava and he understands this whole household life is nonsense. But even Brahma is a Mahajan and they understand that. But because they're on the post of demigod, that's why they're married. Indra, Varuna, they're all married. Why? Because generally people worship demigod for sense gratification. So and of course, and if people worship for sense gratification, then of course they are married people. Brahmacharis usually worship Vishnu or maybe Lord Shiva at max. But mostly general people, they worship demigods to fulfill their desires, and they are mostly married and have children. So they can identify with them. I mean, so the female can worship the female counterpart, the male can worship the male counterpart, and they can actually identify with them. These are also household people. We are also household people. So that's okay. Things can happen. You see, Lord Shiva, yogis worship Lord Shiva, who are actually brahmacharis, who are actually unmarried, many yogis. Although Shiva is married, but they worship for siddhis, again material advancement. So that is why, so that people can identify and can ask them boons and they can fulfill them. That is why the system is there. Otherwise, within their heart, they know it's not the right thing to do. So I think so it's like that, because otherwise ordinary people, they will say, oh, you know what, these our deities are household and are brahmacharis, so we can't identify with them, this and that. That's what I think. Otherwise Lord Shiva and Brahma knows that of course they should know, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because there's some kind of an order to maintain the order of the whole universe. They just maintain for a purpose, right?
Yeah, like that. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sudhakar Prabhu. Next is Sukakara Prabhuji. Please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Keshavanand Prabhu.
Hare
Always
Krishna.
your classes are so much, so much of takeaways. Prabhuji, I want to ask one question. Actually, I am retired now. I'm a chartered accountant, retired. My son-in-law and daughter, they're doing good business in online coaching, and there are around 70,000 people who are already earning 2 crores per month. No, this is not a gambling business. This is a real coaching, the business in the online. So recently my son-in-law has got a prize from Modi also. He became the top 40 entrepreneurs. So I got 2 grandsons, Rishabh Dev, 10-year-old, and 4-year-old Dhruva. So there is a debate between my son-in-law and daughter whether they should study or not. My son-in-law says that if they can make 1 crore, 2 crore per month, why should they go and study? They can do fully brahmacharya, completely take it, and money is required only to keep ourselves on. There's no need to do business and show off that I am IIT, I am IIM. There's no need. So my daughter says, no, kuch to padna to padega na. Without that, if they do business, he's telling the business is to make money, but the money is already coming. So why should they again put their mind in that? So he's telling, go for Vedic studies, go for Vedic mathematics, and go to Gurukula, stay in Vrindavana. So what is your suggestion?
Send them to Gurukul. Send them to Gurukul. Why to send them to modern education and waste their time, If that's the case, if their parents are ready, that's the best. Why not?
Because I attended one seminar last week, 700 people came. One Muslim lady came. She said, I also want to make money. So my son-in-law said, anybody can come, but then you have to pay the fees and make the money. So there was one contest in Chennai, give 8 lakhs and you can make 1 crore in 1 month. So her son came and fought, you Hindus, you want to cheat us? How can 8 lakh can become 1 crore? And my son-in-law said, Shabdari, that if you want, you join. Then she sold her gold and joined. Within 1 month, she made 1 crore 32 lakhs 52,000. So she said, I surrendered. Then that boy also came. He said, I will also be under you. So Guru Maharaj said, join him. So you can join Krishna consciousness. More than making money, one should become Krishna conscious. Then only you can go back. Otherwise, you'll have so much money again, come back, die again, come back. So around 700 people, they wanted to join ISKCON now. There are some Muslims, there are some Christians.
Okay,
they all
that's good.
Very, thank you, Prabhu. Actually, I'm trying to send this video so that there are many people who are suffering, Kuch paisa banayega to they can put more time in Krishna consciousness. But Krishna will give only if you're going to use it for Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna won't give that business to anybody.
Well, Krishna might not also give if he thinks वैसे मिलने के बाद दिक्कत खराब हो जाएगी, पागल हो जाएगा, इसलिए उसको मत दो. वो उल्टा भी हो सकता है.
अभी गुरु महाराज मैं son-in-law को बोला 2 crore मिलेगा तो 20% I would give for Krishna. So 40 lakhs you give to Krishna because it's not your money. If Krishna has facilitated to take the money, so give it. So he's doing everything whatever. Thank you, Prabhu. I'm not trying to show off or anything. I just want to share with you so that others can get the benefit. I'll send the video to you also in case you are somebody in ITA line and all, they can easily get into and make some good money and use it for Krishna and spread.
I don't propose this solution. I say don't make money and just leave it. I say my policy is be satisfied what you're getting and just do devotion. What I think.
No, this is not Ugra Karma. Nahi kar raha hai, Prabhu. This is not Ugra Karma. Normally only working for 7-8 hours.
नहीं चक्कर ही है ना. नहीं चक्कर ही है ना. वो पैसे कमा के डिवोशन करेगा नहीं करेगा ये पक्का नहीं पता.
हाँ, डिवोशन करना है. Then only it is worth.
हाँ, वो जरूरी नहीं है. पैसा जब आता है, पैसा और लड़की आएगी तो दिमाग घूम जाएगा. You can't tell. So that's the whole problem there. It's like a gambling thing. Who knows? What happens. तो बेटर है गरीब रहो यार, गरीब ही रहो, दिमाग नहीं घूमेगा. चांसेस है घूमने की ज्यादा. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that one answer.
Thank you.
Question. And I think the next one is Eka Radhika Leela, and then I will go on the messages chat box. Yes, please go ahead, Eka Radhika Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the class. I was wondering about one thing that you said. You mentioned that you said if you can't release yourself, how can you release others? You were talking about the bondage of the body. So how can we, the people that are not released from the bondage of the body, still try to spread Krishna consciousness in a good way, in a way that that understands this message?
Yeah, we can do that because Srila Prabhupada said, repeat the message. And we repeat the message with the hope that if we cannot make it, at least somebody will. So we pray that the message, people take this message and they realize and they go beyond us, perfect their lives. With that hope, we preach this message with a good intention, even if we are not perfect. So, but the trick is to repeat it. If we add something, subtract something, then there's a problem because we don't have realization. So, of course, we can present in a different way, but that's what I was talking. Then things will happen.
That is so beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the answer.
Thank you, Mataji, question, and thank you, Prabhuji, for answering. So I'll go in the chat box, and there are quite a few questions. So Dolly Mataji said, Prabhuji, if family is not supportive, only criticizing devotees, what can be done, especially on avoiding market food? Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. I'm too much happy and feeling blessed by joining you.
Well, we should play it cleverly, that's all. In family life, we should be clever enough. You listen to them, say yes, but then do what you want. Play diplomatically. Then you'll be happy. That's all you have to do.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that answer. And it's Vrinda Aranya Das Prabhuji. He said, what is the right age to become brahmachari? Should we encourage devotees older than 30 to take up brahmachari ashram? How can grahastha encourage new devotees for full time? Some techniques, if you can share.
Well, techniques, just tell them strongly, don't waste your life. See, if person is not married, we should try every means so that he should not get entangled in that. That's the point. And we have to clearly tell them that if you go in married life, your whole 25 years are finished until your son gets settled and all those. So that will be a problem there. So I think to inspire them, you need strong preaching. You need strong preaching, and that affects the person because you see, it's a natural tendency to do sense gratification. It's very natural for us to enter household life and do sense gratification. So to break this into very strong preaching, just like Narad Muni. Of course, these higher shishas, they were intelligent, but most of people are not intelligent. And so that's one thing you can do, and give them a lot of association of good brahmacharis. They can connect them to brahmacharis. That will help them a lot. They'll be inspired to see people who have really surrendered their lives. And then those brahmacharis can practically tell them, it's possible, because people don't become full-time because of insecurity. That's one of the main reasons. They don't become brahmacharis. They fear what will happen. If we don't have money, we don't have family and future life, and that when they meet the brahmacharis, they're inspired. Oh, they are living, we can also live. So we have to connect them with some good brahmacharis, so then they can become brahmacharis. No age is barred. If they're not married, not already entered married life, just there are two brahmacharis here who are like 42 years old now in our ashram. 42, they didn't marry, so we just got them out. So like that, so there's no age bar in that.
Thank you, Prabhu. So the next chat box question is from Pallavi Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. When humans also think become brahmachari, then how other species can move ahead? Because only in human body, jiva is getting chance to liberate. Prabhuji, what is the right time to become one of?
Well, everybody will not become brahmachari. That's one thing. If you preach 200, one will become. It's not easy to get convinced that I shouldn't marry, because lust is very strong. And then there are other factors, family and society pressure, and there's so many other things, complex. So we preach 200 and we expect that one will come out of it. That's a ratio of that. So don't worry about creation. Creation will go on. We don't have to worry about it. And if creation stops, then Krishna will find some other way. Our agenda is to get people liberated. Krishna's agenda is to see how creation goes on. We do our work, he does his work. That's all.
So the next one is Anand Vilas Prabhu is writing, Grahastha ashram and Grahamadi are two different things. And then Pooja Sharma, Prabhuji, can I join any of your group for guidance to be a part of your spiritual world?
Yeah, actually, can anybody just type my email there? Yeah, this Jyoti Mataji, you can type my email so that Pooja Sharma Mataji, you can contact me. That's okay. I'll ask. I'll get you connected with some Mataji group here.
Okay, thank you. The next one is fire. Hare Krishna, we hear that Brahmalin, but from last time we see so many saints, they merge in deity. Okay, that's not a question. Okay, so I think I took everybody's question. Okay, now Chitra Rupani is asking how to leave one's own ideas, get out of the self and follow Guru and Parampara instruction completely.
How to what?
And how to leave one's own ideas, get out of the self and follow Guru and Parampara instruction completely.
Well, if we try to follow, then we will learn how to follow. To start following, and then we'll learn how to follow.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. I see Lalita, Lalitangini Mataji, please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danut Pranams. Thank you so much. Very inspiring, thought-provoking class. So, question is, there are two questions. One is, we have seen some examples of people taking up brahmacharya when they're young, and then when they reach like between 40 to 50,
yeah.
There are some, fall downs. Of course, security is one thing that Krishna will take care, but our own anarthas and fall down due to uncontrolled senses. So, what about that? How do you?
Yeah, you know what I like to say? Householders never fall down.
Because we are already falling.
How do you know you're falling down? It's a difficult thing to get. But पता है एक बात, एक शेर कहते हैं हिंदी, शेर शायरी. You understand शेर शायरी?
The lion.
No, नहीं, lion नहीं. अरे वो क्या कहते हैं उसको in English में कहेंगे?
Poetry.
What's that?
Poetry.
What's that?
Poetry?
Yeah, something like poetry. So it is said, गिरते हैं शह सवारी जंग में, वो जो उर्दू में है, वो तो फिर क्या गिरेंगे शह सवारी जंग में जो घुटनों के बल चलते हैं. So the point is, people who in war, people who are horse riders, they fall down. But people who are already fallen, they don't fall down. They're on the ground. So the point is, see, brahmacharya life is risky. Everybody knows. It's difficult to control senses. You are right. You're absolutely right. But I think it's good to give a try. And actually, Devarshi Narad says that verse. Devarshi Narad says in that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Bhajan apakvo pate tato yadi. If that you know that verse, no? If a person fully surrenders to Krishna and if due to immaturity falls down from his bhajan, then what loss is there? There is no loss. So that's okay. Everything has a risk. I mean to say, even household life is a risk. You marry and then you can get divorced. So many divorces now.
Right.
So because of this kind of thing, I don't think so. We should choose not a quite a correct path. We should choose the correct path and then we see what happens. It's difficult to remain brahmachari, you're right. But you see, one thing I'll tell you. You see, people after brahmachari who have entered household life, their devotion is very strong. I've seen that because they get a good training. I've seen people who have not entered brahmachari life, they have directly gone to grahastha life, or after household life, they came to Krishna consciousness. It's a project for them to do Mangalarti, to do all Sandhya, and they have no idea, they can't do kirtans, they're not good at philosophy. There are people who after brahmachari who goes to household life, they are at a little, so they have an edge over householders who didn't have brahmachari training. So it's always good, I think so.
Yeah.
And something will happen, they'll marry, their life will go on, everything will happen, but it'll pay. So it's not a loss.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
That's
And
one more question is that,
yeah,
what about people who have chosen not to be brahmacharis even before birth, like Striyo, Vaishyas, Tatha Sudras? So, I mean, but Krishna says that Tepi Anti Param Gatim. So, I mean, being a woman or a Shudra or Vaishya, whatever.
no problem. Krishna understands the situation. If situationally anybody cannot take to that ashrama, Krishna has concessions for them, and he knows the situations. But if situation is there and you can do that, but still you're not doing, then that's a fault. If situation is not there and you're not doing, then that's not considered as a fault. And that's why Krishna says they can also achieve me.
Yeah, so my
Because,
question, not about whether women can become brahmacharya or full-time, but how being in the body of a woman, one can make this a last birth. It looks impossible.
yeah, attachments are there. There's so many things, but Krishna says it's possible because for women, I mean, there are so many women in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kunti, and Yagik Brahmana wives, and so many women are there. And what they did Shravanam and Kirtanam. So I think in Mahaprabhu's movement, this Shravana Kirtanam is so powerful process. If anybody can take to this seriously, then definitely they can perfect their life, irrespective of they're in woman's body or male's body. But as a male, it is expected that they should understand, take to brahmacharya life. And especially you see brahmacharya life, we are not taking just to not enter household life. We are also taking full-time life to preach, to dedicate our life for the service of mankind. That's another thing. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understands the things. You see, I'll tell you one thing. A student who fails in the class, teacher gives them grace marks. Grace marks are not given to people who pass. So people who are at disadvantage, Krishna gives grace marks and takes them. The only thing we have to do is we have to do Shravanam and Kirtan nicely. Having said that, I don't know. Ultimately, it's complex question. It's pretty complex, you see. But you see, one thing I'll tell you, even full-time devotees, so many full-time devotees are spaced out. It ultimately comes to consciousness, how much serious we are, how much we want Krishna in this life, ultimately boils down to that. And that urgency, actually this word urgency, not seriousness, that urgency comes by association of good devotees. So Krishna says it doesn't matter whatever you are. If you have good association, if you're hearing good message, if you're hearing, if you're getting urgency in the message, you can go forward. That's what Krishna says. So I think it all boils down to good hearing, good shravanam. That's it. Ultimately, there are so many full-time devotees who are completely spaced out, completely bonkers. And there's so many household devotees, they are so nice devotees. So that aspect is also there. Although we are emphasizing brahmacharya life, but that aspect is also there. So I think it's a balance. Ultimately, what counts is good hearing.
Thank you so much. I remember the purport in 9th chapter. where I think the second verse about following the rules of Bhakti Yoga to develop a desire to attain me. He says that after doing everything in the morning program, Prabhupada writes one should hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita constantly.
Yeah, you see, yeah. That's a point there. That's a point.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your very valuable.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for
Thank
that
you.
one. Thank you.
Just,
I see some name as fire.
I'll just, Mataji, I have another class, so I just need some break here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Sham.
Hare Krishna, 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 Dandot Pranam, Dandot Pranam. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yeah, last question. Okay.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions in the chat box about the Vanaprastha. So what do you say about that? You know, we are already plus, so we should think about it. You know, Vanaprastha means what?
Vanprastha means after age of 50 years. If we consider human life to be 100 years, that's not the case. But 50% of your life, that means around 50 or 45, whatever. We should plan to get out of household life, and the practically what people congregation can do is whatever savings they have, they can plan to shift to Mayapur or Vrindavan or some dham, settle their kids and get out. That's called Vanprastha, by the way. And the duties in Vanprastha is Vanprastha ashrama, you have to read. Swadhyaya is a main dharma, because in household life there was no time to read with a focus and with depth. You know, time flies off. So Swadhyaya is Swadhyaya and Tapasya. That's the two dharma of Vanprastha. So when people are out of their household life, then they get time to read, and then they can do some kind of austerities, whatever their health permits, and that's what Vanprastha is. So people who are 30 years of age, young couples, they can plan it out from now. Okay, let's do some saving, and at the time 50 years we'll just pack it off and settle our kids and go. Devotees who are already 45, 50 years old, if their kids are settled, they can also plan something, you know, down the line. But that's called Vanprastha.
Secondly is like, you know, how to encourage someone to become brahmachari, because, you know, they when they are young and they say, I want to go to ashram, I want to join the ashram, but they don't know the seriousness about that. You know, they are not so serious.
But
Prashadam and enjoying kirtan, that's what they see, but they don't see the you know, difficult part of that.
नहीं, वो तो ठीक है, वो तो if you, that's what we can tell them, you take knowledge, understand things, and then you join full time. But we should inspire them. We should give them a hope. Yes, you can become full time. That's very nice. You become brahmachari, but prepare yourself and understand things and then join. So I think that is a good idea, because if they immaturely join, then they'll you know it. So it is said in brahmachari life, the faster you come, the faster you go. That's how it happens. So we tell them, wait and read. And
yeah, that's why some say, like, you know, we should at least have a degree, that if we come out of brahmachari ashram, we can.
No, that's Mataji, that's, you know, that's a problem, because nowadays students, they get degree, they go to college, and then they get super contaminated. I've seen youths who wanted to get degree, they didn't agree to me, then they become so contaminated, and then they couldn't become full time. They said our mind is gone completely out, especially now. So that's the big problem. That's a big block. And later we'll tell them, they'll say we can't do it. We're already polluted, and there's so many things going on around. So it's better as early as possible in this age, in the present modern times. Degree is not a good idea. If they take degree, then 95% chances they'll not become brahmachari.
Okay.
all girls and boys and this, and the whole head is out. You see, there's a problem there. Practical problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji, for
Okay,
this.
Hare Krishna.
Very
Thank you,
great
all of you.
And we look forward to your association again in the future. Let us pay our obeisance to Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Two
Vancha kalpato
Tasya kripa sindhubheva Nam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo
Okay, Vaishnav ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice class.
Prabhuji.